how to read chord diagrams, and how to play chords, with tips. Part 3. How a bar chord is charted. Bar chords are chords that involve using one finger, usually your index finger, to hold down multiple strings on a single fret simultaneously. A bar is noted on a chord diagram by a curved or solid line running through a fret from the first note to the last note of the chord, or by a series of dots in the same fret that all bear the same number. And here are some bar chords if you're up for a challenge. B flat. The diagram indicates that the first fret of both the A and E strings will be pressed on the first finger. Then your second finger on the second fret of the C string, and the third finger on the third fret of the G string. B minor. The diagram here indicates that the second fret of the A, E, and C strings will need to be pressed with your first finger. Your second finger will be pressing the third fret of the G string. D7. We'll need your first finger here for the second fret of the E, C, and G strings, and your second finger on the third fret of the A string. C minor 7. The diagram indicates that the third fret of all strings need to be pressed with your first finger. Or you can try and use all four fingers. Righty or lefty? Since chord diagrams are typically written for right-handed players, they provide a challenge to left-handed players who have to do a bit of revisualization by flipping the chart around. If you're confused with the right-handed version, you can download left-handed guitar chord charts online. Tip number 8. Alternate fingerings. You might come across a suggested chord fingering that you simply cannot get your fingers to play. In this case, try experimenting with alternate fingerings. The most commonly used fingerings, however, will work for most players. A couple more tricky chords for you here. E. E major needs your first finger on the first fret of the G string. The second fret of the C string needs to be muted with the second finger, and the second fret of the A string will be pressed with your third finger. The E string needs to be played open. Reminder: you can mute a string by slightly touching it, not fully pressing it down. An alternative way is to use the first finger for the second fret of the A string, second finger on the fourth fret of the G string, your third finger on the fourth fret of the C string, and your fourth finger on the fourth fret of the E string. A flat. So the diagram indicates here that it begins on the third fret. The third fret of the C string needs to be pressed with your first finger, the second finger on the third fret of the A string, and your third finger on the fourth fret of the A string. The G string will need to be muted with your fourth finger, or avoided completely when strumming. Alternative way to play A flat. The diagram indicates that it begins on the third fret. The third fret of the A and C strings need to be pressed with your first finger using a bar chord. The fourth fret of the E string needs to be pressed with the second finger, and the fifth fret of the G string pressed with your third finger. Capo. A capo is a device a musician uses on the neck of a stringed, typically fretted instrument. It is used to transpose and shorten the playable length of the strings, hence raising the pitch. A capo can be used to raise the pitch of a fretted instrument so you can play in different keys but use fingerings that you're familiar with. In effect, a capo uses a fret of an instrument to create a new nut at a higher note than the instrument's actual nut. The use of a capo is usually indicated with the word capo, followed by the Roman numeral or number of the fret that the capo needs to be placed at. Tip number 9. Now that you've learned how to play major and minor chords, notice the difference in the sound and texture. The major chords sound happy and the minor chords sound sad. Tip number 10. There is more than one way to play a chord. Some ways might be easier and some might sound better and some might be more convenient. Like if you're changing from or to another chord. If you're going to and from certain chords, you might want to mute different strings. Start by learning the basic or the open shapes and move on to shapes with no open strings or using bars that are transferable. For example, they can be used to play different chords depending on the fret number. For more information on chords and other ukulele tips, please check out our other how-to videos. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a great day.